Hello, welcome. We're going to be doing a live with Dumas. Sorry, one second. Dumas Haddad. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everyone. So anyone joining, we're going to be doing a live interview with Dumas from Chelsea. We're going to be getting into all the things or his journey and also getting signed with Chelsea. So just as a note, if you've got any questions, please feel free to jump in and ask questions in the comments. Just a little bit of background information on Dumas. He's actually been selected for, in 2022, a BFI official selection for his short film. He's won a gold award for Berlin Commercial and also been a finalist for Sony Feature Filmmakers Award. So without further ado, I'm going to invite in Dumas, and we're going to have a chat.
Hey, hey.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm liking the funky glasses.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for joining.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I want to jump straight in
Yeah.
and basically ask you about your journey, how you sort of like identify your craft, because you have done quite a few things. You've got quite a few sort of like accolades and people backing you. You've had like Film 4 backing you. So like I want to sort of like for you to introduce how you sort of like identify your work and what you do and who you are.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. How do I identify my work? I say my work's kind of, I try and be poetic with it. I feel like it's kind of my sort of core style. Uh, just in sort of how I sort of try and move camera and characters I show in sort of moments. In terms of sort of the journey sort of starting, um, I think my passion work is kind of what has kind of probably put me places, I'd say. Sort of one of the first films I made was a film called Fathers. And sort of from there, I sort of worked with Film 4 on a short film for Random Acts called The Gift. And then from those two things are what led me to sort of being signed to Chelsea in the US. They've been great with me ever since. But I feel like, yeah, just kind of finding my voice was kind of finding my own style through my own passion work. You know, sort of, I was working on brand stuff before that in a looser way. But there were kind of smaller fashion things for like brands like Topshop and H&M and things like that. But it never really felt like me. It felt like just kind of doing a service at that point. And I feel like just even with commercial work now, I found my voice in it. You know, you get to work with really cool creatives who have really great ideas and great reference points and sort of want to make something really beautiful. And I feel like I can come to the table in that way now, sort of because I know myself and I understand, I think, their languages and things they put down. So yeah, I feel that's kind of how I sort of got into this space. It was
That's
kind
quite
of through passion work.
That's quite interesting because it sounds kind of like I want to jump kind of almost like back to the start to
Yeah,
kind of really build that picture. But it kind of sounds like you kind of tested out different things to kind of be like, right, I'm doing commercial, I'm doing this sort of e-commerce space, not really feeling it, and then kind of just going to different spaces and kind of like figuring out really what suits your sort of like creative vision.
yeah, I'd say it's like that. It was like me and my friends used to run a platform on YouTube and Vimeo called Threads, and it was we used to do these episodes, and it was mainly on like fashion, art, and music, and that's kind of what started getting us more fashion work. And that was kind of in the 5D Mark II era, so you could shoot really cool things on a small camera and sort of really go places. And a lot of people were really excited by that sort of energy and sort of it was early content creation in that regards. I done that for a few years with my team, and that sort of took me on the journey where I used to work at Universal Music, and I went to Sony Pictures. So I was working as a marketer for 10 years and kind of filming in the background. So that was kind of my that was like my day job, and that was kind of my passion work, sort of combining that way.
Right. So
I
you were kind of
left
like almost like running it side by side, like while you
exactly.
were okay. So at that point, so just so we like create the clear picture,
Yeah,
at the start, it was like working another job and then like building this on the side and kind of like working on the YouTube channel and then cool.
Indeed. Yeah, it was a side hustle, and I was trying to get the side hustle sort of being the main hustle, and it did get to that point. But I got to a point where at Sony Pictures I was there for like 3 4 years. Um, I started working in their production team, and I learned a lot of my trades really well. Just kind of being on set more, working with sort of DPs, and just in a proper official sort of environment. The content wasn't compelling, but it was a really good learning trade in just regards to workflows and communication styles and all that stuff, basically. So I got to a point where I felt like I was literate enough to sort of go freelance. So I started my filmmaking journey officially in my head in 2017. That was the year I went freelance. Um, Started kind of shooting more stuff, but that was the first year was rusty in regards to it was the fashion stuff I was talking about. It was very kind of quick, quick fashion pieces that were like 30 seconds long. They definitely weren't anywhere near commercial quality or anything like that. It was kind of, like I said, it was probably early branded content. People just wanted visuals that looked interesting at the time in that kind of style. And for me, it was always nice working with clients, but I didn't really have a satisfaction at the end of stuff. You know, it was kind of something there, there was something missing. So I feel like in 2018, I really started kind of just trying to make things I knew I could kind of make in my means. And so 2018 and 2019, because I think I got signed to Partisan in 2019 in the UK, off a music video that I sort of done with my DP, Olan Kaladi.
Okay.
We found an artist called Jerome Thomas who's amazing, and we just said, hey, look, if we pay for your video, can we like make something for one of your songs, please? And that sort of caught me attention. But as that was coming out, I'd been working on Fathers, and then had this idea for the other short film, The Gift, in the background. And I just started to trust myself more in terms of like, oh no, there's things I like doing. Let me try and create those things. And again, thankfully, that's what brought me to Chelsea's attention at some stage, which was really cool. So it just kind of, like I said, locking into more the things that piqued my interest
Mm.
was kind of brought me attention sort of more times than ever. And so I just learned over the years to kind of trust that more, you know, to kind of trust where your vision's at. At the same time, be very open-minded, because there's so many people around who have great visions, great perspectives. So I never try and be that person who's got like tunnel vision. But it's kind of understanding the voice within and kind of understanding the landscape and sort of
And
working with it.
keeping that balance of like in sort of information in, but also like, okay, this is, I'm currently focusing on just creating, putting things out there. What is my creative vision? What do I want to sort of say?
Yeah, it's like a house, you know, you can control what's in your space and what you have. And maybe you can't control exactly where every single wall is and so forth. But, you know, these are things that you understand and sort of work with. And, you know, you're trying to, I think with a reel, in terms of being a director, you're trying to just have a library of things that like interest you. You know, that's kind of where the interest is at. It's like, if that's my book library, this is the stuff that I'm into. So I try and see it in that perspective, basically.
Amazing. What would you say the first point of when you sort of was like, okay, this is starting to pick up traction now, like this is kind of a viable way of, you know, a viable career I can kind of continue? Because obviously it's earlier on you had that sort of fire and that spark, but when did you get to that point where you're like, okay, it's working, I'm gonna continue?
Uh, that's a really good question. I don't know. It comes and goes. I tell you this, right? The reason why I say it like that is because, I feel like the first time I felt that way was in 2017 when I went freelance, and I sort of went through the year, and I was fine by the end of the year because I'd been so, I guess from uni, I was in the office job the whole time. I was still doing my side stuff, but you know, that was my bread and butter. Doing the first year sort of proved to myself like, no, I can do this, right? But the first year I call year zero because, like I said, they didn't really create anything that I show anyone today at all. Probably just discard that entirely. Um, at different points, kind of working in the industry, I feel like, you know, every time you feel like you get a job that you're sort of proud of, that feeling comes across for me personally. I'm there like, okay, cool, it helps validate at least the mission statement and so forth. But um, I don't say there's anything else definitive from there. Just from the point, it's like there's still this upward trajectory that I have personally. You know, I want to be doing more work, and you know, I want a sort of bigger library for myself, and there's all these things I really want to sort of do. So for me, it's like until I feel like I hit those goals, then I'll feel it. In the interim, it's very much like, okay, let's get to work. What are we doing?
Mm,
How? Let's go. I try not to think of it too much because essentially it's like the focus for me is more like I'm hungry. Like how much more can we do?
mm,
So yeah, post 217, that's been my mindset basically.
Okay. No, I love that because I completely get what you mean. And it's so funny. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I think a lot of like young directors kind of think that there's going to be this point where you just go, yeah, I'm good now. And it's like, it's good to hear that it's like, it's still kind of a constant kind of like, no, every point, everybody has goals. Everyone is still striving to move forward. So there's never going to really be it might be a bit easier in the fact that you're established now, you might have connections at certain places, but there is that still that drive of being like, listen, this is not the final stop, the train still goes on to other stops on this journey. In terms of what you're sort of like passionate about, what would you say that is, like, in terms of your particular style?
Good question. What am I passionate about? I don't know. I feel like I romanticize my view of the world. There's a certain viewpoint I have, and I feel like that comes across in just maybe the characters and people in the way I sort of try and lens things that I'm into. I like gritty stuff sometimes, but again, I think because my work is more poetic in my eyes, I think it's more. I see like existing to be this amazing phenomenon. Like we're here, we have consciousness, like we can make decisions. The world has a lot of madness going on, right? But you sort of look at the world and see what we've created as humans and how we constantly create new connections and new languages, and not just linguistically, but like, through music, through art, through different ways of finding, conveying emotion. I like my headspace kind of staying in that because I feel like there's something really beautiful in creation as a whole. So for me, with creating, when it comes to film, whether it's a 30-second commercial or 30-second branded content piece or whatever, to me, it's storytelling. You're trying to find ways of telling stories and packaging things. And to me, when I look at, again, just where the world's sort of at as a whole, um, these are the things that kind of create satisfactions for people, through film, through everything, right? You find yourself like so many people I know who love Nike, for example, as a brand. Um, Obviously, they make great and amazing product, but it's the lifestyle that they've sort of built, all these really great films and different ways of communicating through photography and different things. There's a meaning, there's a value system, and you find all these really cool creatives who've been adding to that lineage years over years. And to me, there's something so beautiful about that. It's like, here's this thing, it's defined by this tick, and now everyone has these feelings and emotions, and people have different memories, and they all kind of collide into this one thing. And I think there's something beautiful about that. So for me, I try and keep that in my focus in sort of my work, because I'm like, you know, commercials and stuff is not saving lives in a different way, but what commercials and music videos and things are doing they are communicating back to humans in a really cool way that make people feel and make people interact in different things. So yeah, that's kind of how I collaborate that basically.
Nice. I love the fact that you've mentioned the sort of the significance of music videos, because I do think that a lot of directors now get their start on music videos, and which is where they can kind of like flex their skills and learn their trade, similar to the things that you essentially did. What would you say to anyone, I guess, because there's going to be a few directors that are in this chat that are like, you know, that are probably like figuring out their journey and like, how do I become a director?
Yeah.
How do I, sustain this? Because, a lot of the time at the start, you're not getting paid as a director. It's the constant grind to become the
Mm.
director. So what would you say to any sort of young directors that are currently striving for the role?
Yeah. Now, I'd probably give a few bits of advice, which is one, try and work on a music video or with an artist that like you really, really mess with, that you're just, super stoked about and very excited about, because your energy will come across into how you kind of create that video. Um, Even if it doesn't have to be a major crazy name, it could be someone you know. And it really is about that rapport and sort of what you build together and how you create there. Because if you create something beautiful, even if people don't see it as much right this second, trust me, it will it will have an upward trajectory from there. Don't worry about things like budget and stuff. Like, there's so many great creative ways to create videos now, and so many great smaller cameras and systems to kind of work with, right? It's about you just being as creative as possible and saying the thing you want to say. Um, and then I'd say, don't worry about the money at the moment. You have to kind of go back to like almost beat making. It's like you're in the lab, you're cooking, you're making a beat, you're making a few different beats, you've got people vocaling some stuff. Now you're kind of marketing your music to people, and now people start to know about you. And now, because people know about you, again, you go on this trajectory. And at some point through this whole lineage that you've created, now you're being paid. So you have to treat, especially music videos, pretty early like that. Like if you're lucky enough to get, because I think the budgets at the moment are quite small in terms of things that are commissioned currently. It's just the landscape and how it is. Um, sort of getting paid from them is not as sustainable unless you're doing a few back to back. That can kind of help in that regard. So I say just don't worry about that. If you can sustain yourself in other ways for the meantime, do that, but just make the best thing that you can make, and then make that your calling card and a few more of those things. And trust me, people will come in and be like, "Hey, 100K this. Hey, why don't we do this?" Or, "Oh, we see you with this artist." It's just about creating the work you want to create.
I agree. Can we jump back to actually your experience in that? Because obviously at the start you were working on this YouTube channel and then obviously you were working on this music video. What was it like when you had that kind of moment when, what would, like whether or not, was it Chelsea that reached out to you or did you reach out to Chelsea? Like what was that like?
Yeah, that was really cool. Chelsea reached out to me, and I met with the team, and they were just like phenomenal from the jump. They, at least when the team sort of knew so much about me, more about me than I knew about myself, which was interesting. I was like, wow, okay, this is really cool. But I think just meeting them and sort of knowing how big and significant they've been in the industry, and just kind of seeing like Lisa's vision in particular, with where she wanted to go, it got me more excited. Sort of, I kind of had some ideas of kind of what I wanted to do, but I really feel like that meeting sort of really chiseled sort of my headspace sort of moving forward from there. And I was thankful. I think within a small time period of us getting together, we then done our first commercial together for WhatsApp, which was kind of shot in the UK, US, and also in Nigeria. Um, so it became a real fruitful relationship. It was like that for me from the beginning, and it became even more fruitful. And and I think probably at the same time, I think probably to add to that as well, like in the build up to WhatsApp, I had a few things out back to back at the time. There's a few music videos, different things coming out. So sometimes things like momentum, just having things out in different pockets in different ways, because not everyone will see every single thing you put out. Things just kind of, it's a commercial here, there might be a music video over here, but it's an indie band, and then actually it's more of a rap artist here. Different people, different groups, different viewers get different things. So I always feel that those things help as well.
So you would say almost kind of like keep busy so that it builds that momentum. Don't kind of stop at any. Just try not. I mean, not
Yeah,
stop, but try and stack essentially stack the productions back to back, sort of thing.
I would say it like this because you can't always control it because a lot of it's pitching,
Mm.
so you're pitching for different work and stuff. And other times it's passion projects and things coming in. I would say it like this. I think a director's life cycle is better when you have more. And I don't want to say quantity over quality, just more like if I only done two commercials and they were car commercials, people might think I can only do car commercials. Or. So when I think of like one of my all-time favorite directors, Jonathan Glazer, he's across so many different fabrics of work, styles, and so forth. And that's obviously sort of taking them into the feature space. But his feature work is completely different to his commercial work. But you can tell it's still the same filmmaker, which is great. And so what I took from that was like, and same with Spike Jones. What I took from all those guys is like, oh no, they're storytellers, and they get excited by things that they can tell. And actually, because they've had so much work out, you kind of take them as this entire filmmaker, like, oh, that's Spike Jones, oh, that's Jonathan Glazer. In your early career, people may just see you for the three things that you have and can't see you behind that box. So I think when I say kind of being plentiful, it's more, finding more of the work that you can kind of get onto that, like, again, explains you, and you expand your own boundaries. You explore more of the things that you have. And if your catalog is still centralized, like if you just want to do things in a Nike, Adidas, sports kind of world with Under Armour and sort of New Balance and so forth, that might be the lane that you're in. But also you might want to do sports and a bit more like high fashion, for example. And so then the style becomes like that. But that can lend itself into a bit more of a narrative space that needs some dialogue somewhere. So it's just kind of understanding yourself, what excites you, and not being afraid of doing those things. Trusting the process.
I'm loving this message because I feel like it's so funny because I think as younger directors, we're like very let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Like we want to do everything now, feature now, like commercials now.
I get
And it's so funny because the energy I get from a lot of on the other side of like more experienced directors, especially yourself, is like slow down. Let's figure yourself out first. Let's figure out what you like, figure out what you enjoy, make things, have a consistency with making things, and it will come to you. And it's so funny because I feel like everyone says something of a similar line of just like it will come to you. It is okay if you continue down the path. It will come to you.
I never want to cap it because the thing is the energy that you're speaking about, I love because for me, it's just testing. You're testing information constantly, and even if you work in a high impact zone where you're shooting, let's say you've got a production team or someone that shoots like every week, always doing different videos and stuff. Listen, there's so many learnings from that. You know what I mean? In on set, in post, I think it's like you kind of have to fail upwards. You know, that's kind of how it is. And so what I also meant is like it's I don't want to say it's not trying to be overly cautious. It's just trying to get the best of yourself out every time and sort of understanding how you do that and more energy in something. Like if you really try and go for that home run every time, I just think there's something special in that. And it may not always hit that way, but it's like it's that intent. It's trying to be like the Arsenal's invincible season. Like we ain't losing this season. And it's like okay, next season we lost 2 games, but that's still dope. You know what I mean? It's like you haven't lost that many. You've been a tight knit unit, and so that means that you succeed this way. So I like those kind of principles for those things, but I want the energy of like do. It's a very good thing to keep and have.
Yeah. With what would you say then with your, I guess, what you learned from your journey that you kind of you could sort of, I guess, if you were handing back down the ladder and said like, okay, this is what I did, don't do this. What would you say in terms of your journey that you kind of learned in that process that you feel like everybody needs to know?
Yeah, I say my personal thing would be don't do the things that don't feel right, especially if you've kind of ran the analytics yourself and it's not feeling right. I say it from a personal side. I've got people who weren't really keen on a certain job and done really great with it, and it's been fantastic for them. The reason why I say it personally is for me is more like if I can't see it the way that I need to see it, and I'm not locked in that way, and I'm trying to be locked in, I never really feel like I get to the place that like I hit that satisfaction level, and that even means in terms of like I'm questioning everything that's going on. I'm like, oh, is this working? Is it not? You know, because I'm not really, I can't see it as well. If we just said, right, we're going to take, I don't know, we're going to take Man United Stadium and paint it blue, and it's obviously Man City colours. I'd be there, and I'd be like, I can't see it. I'm just thinking the fans are going to be upset. Like it won't look right. It's not going to, you know. And so it's really hard for me to be on board if I'm not really. And I'm, I say I'm a pretty big empath, so I'm really good at seeing people's perspectives on things and so forth. So that's it's not that. It's more of a case of like I realize to ground myself in saying I have to get it fully, and if I don't, I just feel like I'm a bit whatless. And so I say that because I think it's good to when you have that excitement, you have that vision, you have that lock in, like you can be undefeatable. Basically, you can just go for it. And yeah, there's been a couple times from, especially sort of my early days, where I felt like, oh, you know, someone was like, let's do this, and then we do it, and I'm like, I wasn't really feeling it from the jump, and then I'm trying my best, and then it gets to a point, and people maybe sort of they're excited by it, but like I'm nowhere near excited by it. I'm like, no, it
Mm.
doesn't mean anything to me. And after a while, I sort of move on, and I'm like, oh no, I need that feeling. I need it. There's just a stamp of me somewhere, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It's not a vanity stamp. It's more like there's just a window. You
Mm.
know, it's just a window in. So yeah,
I know
that's what.
exactly what you mean, and I think it's so funny that when you, as you speak, I think um, what I'm picking up on is almost like it's more of an internal journey that you'll kind of get sort of like talking about, and kind of that internal like satisfaction and connection with your work. And I think that's one thing that's really important for like a lot of directors and a lot of filmmakers to know, because it's like I think we can get lost a lot in the kind of the metrics and the grandeur of it, of how it looks on the outside, but we're not connected to the actual work that we're doing, and that's kind of the whole point. Which I think is an amazing point to kind of like put in, because I think it's often not said. It's
Yeah,
kind of like just make stuff, explore. But I think this is more, this conversation is speaking to kind of like, no, you actually need to be emotionally present with your work, and also be emotionally present outside of your work, as you've mentioned, with kind of whether or not you select this project to do or not. Because at the end of the day, if you're not connected to it, it's a waste of time for everybody.
Oh, big time. You articulated it perfectly there with the emotional connection to it. I'd say, especially for music videos, let's say you're working with a band or artist and you're not really invested in the song or the artist. To me, I think it's a disservice to the artist, even if you make something that, people love and sort of flock to, which is a great thing. It's like, artists have so much fanfare. You know what I mean? It's like they know every single. If you took Travis now and you do something with him and it references something sort of over here, or Billie Eilish and reference something there, this fandom will figure this out. It'll be across Reddit everywhere and TikTok. Like all the YouTube comments. You can see where the level of fandom is for someone. And so for me, it's like when you can understand someone's essence, you can harness that side even more. Like it's a beautiful, amazing thing. And just again, with some of the biggest adverts and so forth, when you see that attention to detail somewhere in things, usually a lot of the PR that kind of comes from stuff or adverts or whatever, or just a lot of, take the Budweiser sort of old adverts with the what's up, just creating cultural moments, creating things where there's understanding somewhere and people get the room, understand the room, expand the room, the whole room then becomes the world. There's something special because there's people thinking about it in a really interesting and sort of detailed way. And so for me, if you're kind of on cruise control, it's why sometimes you'll get a lot of work that I feel becomes white noise. It's really good functionally. It does its job and it's kind of satisfying for that few days or week that it's out or so forth, but it doesn't have that cut through. And I'm not speaking to someone that's like, oh, my work has cut through. I'm not saying that at all, even trying to insinuate that. It's
No,
more
but
like
speak your
what,
truth.
yeah, no. It's what, just the favorite pieces that I've seen from friends and just different contemporaries and people I love. I always just find that detail that I feel like they're so invested that I'm invested.
Mm.
So,
I just want to like quickly round this up because we're nearly coming to our time, and also if anyone has a lasting question, we can try and see if we can fit it in. Anything around filmmaking and just navigating this whole journey. But what I loved this chat because what I feel like it was also very grounding, which I love, because essentially what you said is like start small, build, create, understand
yeah,
yourself. And it means that when you understand yourself and you go into these different places and you are accepting jobs or you're meeting new people, you know what you can say yes to, you can know what you can say no to because you're essentially connected to your own internal compass, essentially.
indeed, indeed. Again, you articulated it great. So,
Amazing. Thank you so
no, thank
much.
you.
Honestly, because I feel like this was honestly, I feel like anyone who's like right now is panicking and thinking, oh my God, I haven't got money, I haven't got da da da, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. It's like, chill, you've got time while you're breathing. You can be, you're here, so it's all good. Um, but thank you so
No, thank you for having
much. I think we have one quick question
me.
before our time runs out, is what keeps you going during the difficult times in your directional journey?
Um, two things. My family, I say, family and friends combined as one. Just being sort of grounded with them is important to me. It just it connects me to the real world and doesn't get me caught up in madness in that sense. Secondly, I'd say staying creative. Like I'm always working on a passion project in some form in the background, um, between jobs or so forth. Some of them are a bit more long running, so they're just in different stages. But I think having that means that my brain is always creative and moving forward, and it doesn't feel dormant. Because that can happen, and I've been there a couple of times where it's like, oh, there's nothing on, so I'm not doing anything, and then I'm like, oh, what does one do? Where does one go?
Mm,
So I think having that has always given me like a focus and trajectory. I've always felt like internal forward movement creatively, basically with that. So,
amazing. Thank you so much,
oh, thank
Dumas.
you. Appreciate it.
Honestly, and good luck with all your future projects. This interview will be available on the Shining platform and also on the Instagram. So anyone watching, you can watch it afterwards. Thank you so much, Dumas, and
Big love.
have a
Appreciate
great
it.
day.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good
Bye.
one. See ya.